told me that I didn't have enough experience. Tried to tell me that I wasn't qualified to talk about God and His love. Made it seem like just because I was young, my words had no weight. So He sent me off, told me to live more and come back when I was of age. But I knew that I knew that I knew God had changed me. God's done, just looking on the outside, not knowing He's been doing great things every day of your life. Through the ups, through the downs, and finding myself and even the abuse, His hand was working my story, oh, for His glory, 'cause I knew God had changed me. And I knew that I knew that I knew my life would never be the same. He's real, 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 real. He's real to me, and you can't take it from me. No, no.
Happy Thursday, Revealing Truth Ministries family and friends. Welcome to Thursday's Deeper Dive live session. We are in the Stability Studio with the livest live audience in all of Tampa Bay. They are in the building. Pastor Brian is here with us this morning. Good morning, Pastor Brian.
Hey, Pastor Brian, how you doing?
I'm well. And we're here to take a deeper dive, continue our deeper dive from Sunday's message. It's over now. We're glad that you are here with us in the virtual building. go ahead and take this time to drop something in the chat. Let us know that you're there. Share the stream. The deeper dive gives us the opportunity to attend to the things that God is saying to us because we are determined to be
Most blessed.
Most blessed. And man, it was a great message on Sunday. It's over now. We're gonna pick up where we were led to on Tuesday, and just to lead into today's conversation, we're gonna talk about just capturing those thoughts, right? Capturing the thoughts and where to place them. But I just want to go back. I love the point that a thought can lead you in both directions. Whether you go more towards His will for your life or in the other direction, both start with a thought. And one of the points from Tuesday was for us to just start stewarding our thoughts. These last few weeks, though, we've been like hovering around this area. And even when we consider what it means to be triggered, right? That's all with your thoughts, how past thoughts can lead to your present, current actions, right?
And, just one of the words we were just talking over, like, we don't want to ever be triggered into childish, right?
Right.
Going to be triggered into childish. But it starts with your thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a lot of examples that I think of in my head, but, I think everybody has had that thought, before. It's like, hey, man, if they say that one more time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just thinking to yourself, man, if they do that one more time, like these aren't things you're saying audibly, but a lot of times, like you get your whole mind ready.
Right.
Like I'm, going to school today. If they do that one more time, like it's on. So it's like you are having these thoughts that are framing a mentality that produce the actions you later see. This person, they do what they do. Next thing you know, you triggered.
Right.
But it wasn't just out of the blue.
Right.
There's always something that you primed the pump, if you want to say, that you just got yourself ready to go ahead and respond. And so it's saying that, that same practice or that same process is still active, right? But we don't want it to just be when somebody's trying us,
right?
But because it can work that way,
right?
But we want it to be towards the things God is saying towards us, the things that are good for our lives. Like that same process works in both directions, right? Like the next time I get excited, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. The next time I feel stirred up, I'm going to go ahead and step out. Next time I feel it in my heart, I'm going to go ahead and follow what God is saying, right?
Right.
It works in both directions, though.
That's good. And the direction that you choose to take is based on or the thought that you chose to meditate on.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. When we talk about our thoughts, the reason and we're going to get into it actually a little further, is because your thoughts are like brushstrokes of the canvas on your imagination, right?
Yeah.
And so your thoughts start to form what you see internally.
Right.
And so you start to create images. Your imagination starts to get involved, right? Because your thoughts start to create new worlds and new realities that yet to exist, right? And I think we've all seen that go both good and bad, right?
That's right.
Someone has said something, next you created this whole scenario in your head.
Yeah.
But it actually works in the good direction too. It actually works for your benefit too, to take a thought and say, I'm gonna go ahead and allow my imagination to take this simple things, this glimpse, and start to bring me into a whole new way of viewing life, right? So it's like that, because it's nothing just a thought. Your thought starts to, I use that, right? It's like a brushstroke in a canvas of a picture that's coming together. And the more you meditate on that thought, the more strokes you're putting, the more clearly you can see the image, right? That starts to form.
Right. I'm thinking about how beautiful that is. That's why we say that when God says something, we should see something.
Yeah.
The word that He shares with us, whether written or spoken to our heart, should paint on the canvas of our imagination.
Yeah.
And I know, I think we have enough time, Pastor Brian. I just think about how there are moments when the words that God is sharing with us they do begin to paint a picture that conflicts with other thoughts that we've been meditating on. And
Yeah.
often we find ourselves just vacillating stuck in that moment
Yeah.
of conflict where God has said something that is leading us this way, but at the same time, it's rubbed against a thought that we've been holding on to that wants to keep us prisoner to where we are right now. And while we were preparing for this conversation, you mentioned, I think the example that you shared was really good with the man who brought his son to be
Yeah.
healed. But just talk about how in that moment, this man he was stuck. He expressed that he was stuck.
Yeah.
When progress was made available to him, he was invited to move forward.
Yeah.
But what he expressed was, I'm stuck right here where I am.
Yeah, and I believe that is something that we don't like to acknowledge. That we should acknowledge a lot more. You know, and I've tried to challenge myself, and I know I gave an example during the message of like, so you know, I started to change the way I communicate a little bit to try to, hey, listen, this is what I heard you say, and this is what I'm going to do as a result of what I believe you said. Am I hearing you right? And I'm saying, like, you know, I'm challenging myself to try to be as transparent as possible of how I'm processing the thoughts that I have.
Yeah.
You know, and because we hide that part when truth be told, it's a natural thing, right? To be possessing, you know, and these are some points I didn't say them on Sunday. We talked about them before, but it was like, you know, what is doubt? Doubt is just simply believing that two opposing outcomes are possible. What is fear? Fear is believing that two opposing outcomes are actually possible. Like, what is stagnation? Stagnation is I'm actually believing that two things going in opposite directions can happen, right? It's stuck in a thought, but it's not just one thought, it's two thoughts.
Right.
Fear is believing that, man, something bad could happen, right? But then you hear all this good, but it's like now you're trapped in the middle,
Right.
because now it's like, now there's a face-off. Like, what are you gonna do with these thoughts of fear now that you have these thoughts of faith?
Right.
And it's like, for so long we thought that it's either one or the other.
Right.
When it's not one or the other, you can have both of them, right? And then if you start to do a checkoff list, which I've seen people do this, right? They'll start having pros and cons lists. That can send you into further confusion, because then you'll find reasons why the negative outcome could happen, and you'll find reasons why the positive outcome could happen. But what is happening here? You actually have two thoughts that are moving in the opposite direction, occurring in your brain, and now you have things that are validating both of them as possibly true. Where does that leave you? A lot of times that leaves us stagnant, it leaves us in doubt, it leaves us confused. But it's breaking that down. It just means that I am actually believing in two opposing things right now.
Right.
That is what's going on with me.
Yeah.
And of course, that's what we're talking about with that father there with Jesus. He came to Jesus and he desiring for his son to be healed. And like I said, I believe it's the biggest if in the Bible, because he comes to Jesus and he says, you know, he's like, can you heal him? And Jesus is like, what do you mean? You know,
right.
Can I like
Right.
if I can, like,
Right.
man, all things are possible to them that believe. Then he did something we said on Sunday. He cried out before Jesus.
Right.
Like, he cried out, was like, listen, I do believe, but help my unbelief. Like, there's
Which that part right there. So is like that. I now see that as proper processing,
yes.
right? Instead of keeping that in his head,
Yes.
to battle with it for who knows how long.
Allah.
Him yelling that out or stating it seemed to me is the process that led him to the freedom and the deliverance that he sought.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we all want to believe.
Right.
But if we act like our previous experiences haven't played a role in our life, we'll never see complete healing for our future.
Yeah.
And a lot of people try to act like what has happened to them ain't happened to them. And it's like, it did happen. You saw what you saw. You know, they did what they did. Now, if you try to figure this out on your own, most of the time this sends people backwards. Right. Right. Because I'm just thinking, I'm thinking of something my dad used to say. Like it was something about like the stupidest man on the world is the
Man who
one
deceives himself.
it's the one that's deceiving
fooling
himself.
himself.
Like you
Right.
just talking to yourself.
Right.
Like and you are not gonna figure it out on your own. Right. Like you really need help.
Because you're just fighting with the same thoughts that you had. That
Yeah.
got you to the place
Yeah,
that
that's how
you're in.
you just
Right.
gonna go further in doubt, right? Because you at this point, you need help.
Yeah.
Right, you need somebody to help you gain another perspective, and that's all they're doing. You know, they're just trying to help you see it from another lens. You know, and people say this like this, right? I'm gonna say something, right? They'll say this. It's so funny how many things we can look at other people and see is absolutely true,
Yeah.
but then not apply it to our own lives when the best place to play is in your own life. Well, people say this all the time, like you can't heal in the same place you got hurt. Well, shoot, if you got hurt in your mind, how you healing yourself in your mind? Like you can't, like you so easily will point that outward. And most of the time people point it outward just an emotional response to a moment when, you know, but all I'm simply saying is how the same mind that's hurt gonna heal itself.
Right.
Right. Like you
Exactly.
need,
Right. A new mind.
you need an intervention.
Yeah.
You know, I know that used to be a
New
big
mind.
word back in the day. Like you'd be like, hey man, I think he needed intervention,
Intervention,
man. I
right.
think we need to just get together and we just need to intervene, right? We need to intercept, right? And you need to intercept yourself, right? You need an intervention. You need to recognize what hurt looks like. You need to recognize what confused looks like. Confusion is and it's not a bad place. It just means that I believe in two opposing things.
Right.
And I have valid reason for believing in both.
Yeah. That's good. Too.
And I need somebody to come get me out.
Right.
Because right now, I believe that two opposing things can happen in my life.
All right. So I hope this isn't this. I mean, this is the deeper dive. So I hope
Right.
this. But I think that right there, taking away the stigma that's associated with being in a state of confusion or uncertainty. I think that many people don't admit it, don't confess it, don't deal with it properly because there's a stigma on just being like confused or in a confused point. But if we name it and normalize it, we all realize that like that's a part of properly processing humanity. Like, which one of us hasn't been in a place where I got two different ideas and right now in this moment I'm stuck between the two. Like, that's a normal thing.
So let's just go ahead and say it this way, right? Let's just go ahead and give you even more reason not to feel or to normalize it. The Bible says we were born into sin and shaped in iniquity. So you already had the cards was against you.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And you
right.
and the best example of your Christian, you know, I say it all the time, like, don't let your greatest asset become your greatest liability. What is
That's
that?
good.
That's proximity to the people you love.
Right.
A lot of times we just around the people we love too much. Right. And we want to be around the people we love too much, but you got to realize if you're not careful, your greatest asset can become your greatest liability because that level of interaction means that you get the whole pie. Right. And a lot of people just have a whole pie life. You've just seen all of it. I've seen people win and lose. I've seen people be healed and I've seen people die. I've seen people I've seen it all. I've seen them broke. I've seen them rich. I've seen it turn out good, turn out bad. Right. And you just seen a whole pie. And so it's like, help me.
Yeah.
Right. Because right now, I think both are possible. Like I'm entering into this having to think about all the things that did work, didn't work. You know, it's and you know, and so but it's normal. My point is, right? Like it's, you know, if we can normalize it prayerfully, more people will cry out like the Father, right? Jesus, help my unbelief. I do believe.
Right.
That's why I'm standing here.
Right.
But
That's why I came.
That's why I came. But he's been like this a long time.
Yeah. Right.
And I sent them by your disciples, and they couldn't get it done.
Right.
And so there's parts of me based upon what I've seen that's got some questions.
Right.
Now I'm here because, man, I believe you could do what you said you could do. I still believe.
I'm getting some other brush strokes.
I'm getting some other,
painting
like,
a new picture for me.
Right.
Right.
And we taught the message before, right? But you know, one of the things we pulled out of there, Jesus' response to him was like, this kind comes out through prayer and fasting, right? prayer? What is prayer? It's communication with God. Fasting, what is that? That brings me closer, proximity to God, that sharpens my hearing. And you know, all of that is almost like the fruit of seeing how Jesus addressed the situation, right? He spent the first half talking to the Father, right? Saying, man, there's a mentality that's wrong here. There's a thinking that's wrong here. There's like the healing is mentally. Like you guys are trying to heal physically, but you don't realize that there's damage here. There's a mentality that's been bruised by life. There's a way of thinking that's been bruised by life. And Jesus doesn't just care about outward healing, right? You know, the physical manifestation of it, but he cares about the soul, the mind being well. Yeah. Right. And so he's like, man, like y'all over here dealing with the son, man, the father needs healing. Right. That's good. And he's carrying some unbelief. And a lot of times we completely dismiss that side when you can see Jesus clearly dealing with the mentality of the Father, right? And it's like, hey guys, you know, you only were trying to heal half of the problem.
That's good.
You know, you were going for that outward hallelujah while there was an inner hurt present, right? And, you know, that's the part of us that we are contending for right now, saying like, you know, at the end of the day, there's some things that we believed and we've said that I believe brought us to this juncture, right? Which is, we always say this, right? That we are believers. So we believe that the core of every action is a belief that you're carrying. But we always keep trying to focus on the actions,
right,
and leaving the belief unaddressed.
Right.
Although we know that in principle that it's belief that produces the action. And so it's like, what's wrong with what's going on here? And what I'm finding is, and what we're discovering is, many people, is not that they don't know what right is, and it's not that they don't know what to believe,
right,
is they actually are dealing with some unbelief.
Yeah, they
actually are dealing with some trauma. They actually are dealing with some hurt. They've been used, right? It's in, if you're not, man, I like to say, it's not a one and done. Right? It's not a one and done. It's
when you say that, do you mean like you just can't skip over it and just?
And I mentioned this last week, right? As long, like, when you talk about mental healing, when you talk about health of your mind, right? If someone has cancer and we lay hands on them and the cancer is gone, right? And our evidence that healing took place is the cancer is gone, right? But when you talk about mental and someone's mentality that has been traumatized or hurt, you got to realize healing of the mind is only gained through a new perspective.
A new thought.
New perspective, a new outlook. Here's the thing. Healing only remains as long as I honor that new thought. The moment I decide to put down that new mentality or that new thought, I'm back in the same pit.
Right.
And so I'm trying to, like, they would check your blood in order to see if the cancer was gone.
Yeah.
You should check your thoughts to see if the mentality has been fixed.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. It's like, you have to understand. I have to maintain this mind.
Right. That's good. Yeah.
In order to maintain the health of mind.
That's good.
If I put down, that's why I say it's not a one and done.
Right.
Because I have to realize, like, I am healed mentally because I allowed myself to accept a new thought into it. I have to continue to accept it.
Yep.
Right? Because, you know, truth be told, right, the the bad thinking in it is what it, how much time? Okay, cool. So the wrong thinking, right? Like, let's own it, right? Mm-hmm. Something happened in my life that produced the way I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. Own it. Mm. Why am I say own it? Because when I own it, I realize there's real evidence to it, right? Mm-hmm. And so that means that I don't mean at any moment like pop, I'm here again, but I mean like thinking on the evidence that it's already there, like it's there,
right?
And so it's like at any moment, if I allow myself to revert to the evidence that produced the thoughts that sent me into depression, I will be back in depression,
right?
Because it's not like the evidence went away. What I gained was a new perspective, a new thought of old evidence.
Got it. Right.
But I have to carry that new perspective of the old evidence. Yeah. Because the evidence didn't go away. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, good. Because, and that's what I mean, you got to own it. Like, the reason why, one of the things we mentioned is people that have been used before tend to carry a sarcastic way of life. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they're trying to block people from getting closer. They're trying to shield off people from asking them hard questions. Mm-hmm. And so they use sarcasm and jokes as a defense mechanism so that they don't end up you never end up getting to know the real them, right? Mm-hmm. They'll throw out I love you before they even know your favorite color, right? Mm-hmm. And it's because they're trying to say we're already somewhere we're not. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to create relationship where there isn't really depth. Whether they put up all these barriers to block from having being used again, right? Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is, why are they doing this? Because they've been used, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we know that God has already told us you are a new creation. All those things passed away. Forget those things that be not. But if you choose to think about what was, right, the same hurt that you felt years ago from that situation will be resurfaced in your present. Yeah. But with friends. Right? Because now I have to create with my imagination, right? Because that person may be gone. I may be in a different city. But now I'm using my imagination to create that same reality in my present on people who were never even back there.
Recreating the same threat. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all because I chose to, though. And that's my point. And so you have to realize, like, it's a choice. I'm choosing mental health because I can't change what happened 5 years ago. Right. I'm just thanking God for a new perspective of what happened. I'm believing that in Romans, he's gonna bring it together for good. I'm just gonna own that.
So this is what healing looks like, or properly processing those thoughts looks like, taking that time to put the new on that old, right? Yeah. To process it through your new nature, process it through the promises of God, process it through how God sees you versus how either you saw yourself or how others may have seen you. This is the healthy way to process those situations.
Right. And the part that is so amazing is it's all available today. Yeah. And I think that's the part that we started the message off like, hey, guess what? It's over now. Which that was even a challenge, right? I was thinking about the message title and I was like, God, like, it's over now. It's kind of bold. He's like, nah, it's a confession. Yeah. It's a confession. Like, it's calling it to an end. It's you choosing. It's you deciding that, no, I have this new ideal. I have this new attitude, right? That ideal is strong. That ideal is so strong. We didn't even scratch the surface of that. When the Bible says you have a new ideal, It's saying that you have a new picture of perfect. You have a new picture of perfect. And the reason why that's so strong is many of us, the reason why the mental challenge is so strong is because our picture of perfect was damaged. Like, we had a picture of what a perfect marriage would look like, and then infidelity showed up. And so our picture of perfect was damaged, and that's why we are depressed about our marriage. Right? You had an idea of when you would get married, right? But you're past that date, and so now your picture of perfect has been damaged. You know, you had an idea where you would be career-wise, but that's not where you are, so your picture of perfect is damaged. And the Bible is saying, like, if you want to transform your mind, you're going to have to change your picture of perfect. You're going to have to say, like, that's no longer what I once thought was perfect is no longer perfect. This is my new perfect. Like, and from there is where healing starts. I have a new idea of perfect. As long as you are still working with an old idea of perfect that has been damaged, you will ever fulfill as though time was lost, resources were lost, and depression will show up. Depression is just living under I'm trying to think of a softer word, but right.
I hear you saying this like hope deferred. Hope deferred makes the heart sick.
Right?
When you have that, when your picture of perfect, your picture of your goal is damaged, what you're saying is like, this is the only thing that's possible. So your hope for better is gone, but you're constantly living from that place.
And that was one of the points we said: get a greater than.
Right.
Good. You got to say, okay, my picture, because it's not about going backwards. It's about saying, like, you know what? I thought this was perfect. And truth be told, like, what is really like annoying me night and day is the thought that I can no longer achieve what I once thought was ideal.
That's good.
But I'm gonna get a greater than. I'm gonna get a greater than. I'm gonna get a greater than what I saw. Now, here's the thing.
That's good.
It goes in twofold, right? So that ideal is twofold because of course, obviously, the first ideal is to understand that your new picture of perfect is Christ. And you're in him. The greater than is to serve towards the actual goals that are like that you had, that you now have to say, I'm gonna get a greater than. Like, I'm gonna have a greater than. And so it's going through there and realizing, like, I feel the way I feel because my picture of perfect has been damaged and I need a new one. You know? And but yeah.
That's good stuff. In the backdrop of what you're sharing, I just keep hearing, this is a scripture that was brought up, I don't know, some months ago, but I think it's just fitting right now. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11, at the end of it talks about how Satan's not going to get us like that because we are aware of his schemes. We know his tricks. And that's what I see even happening here is like, oh, okay, I see where I stumbled before. I can see it now. So now that I see it, I can deal with it properly.
Right. We talked about this before, right? In our forgiveness. One of the things about when we talked about proper forgiveness, it isn't restoring people back to the image I have of them.
That's right.
Like that's once again, like you keep trying to go back to that picture perfect. And that picture is gone. You gotta get a new one. You gotta get a greater one. Right. But it's like that. But to your point, it's like the things we're sharing, they spread across all of it. But it's like, you know, that's a scheme is to get you to continue to pursue what is actually unattainable. Like to try to get you to.
And I think it's you see it. You really see it as unattainable. You see that this is no longer possible, but you're keeping it there in front of you. That's where the depression comes from. Right?
The pressure comes from trying to, it's not attainable.
Right.
but you still trying to make it be instead of allowing God to give you a new that's greater than
That's
whatever you even thought was the best.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Oh man. Okay.
Right.
That's good. That's so good. It's like, give me a moment. No, that is good stuff.
That new
think
ideal is so strong,
Yeah.
right? Like because there's so many people that, forget all that. Like I found that for myself. Like you just keep trying to make this happen. Like, and that's what's actually frustrating you. You won't let God give you greater. And it's like, and you know for yourself, like that ain't never, like like that cannot return.
Right?
Yeah, right. I said something 3 weeks ago, but it was to the note of I'll move forward from here. Like I'm just gonna move forward from here. Like I'm just going to move forward from here, right? Like I'm gonna get me a new ideal. I'm gonna catch me a glimpse. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna get me a new picture of perfect. I'm gonna get me a new picture of ideal.
That's good.
It's like I talk about JT for a second. I talk to you for a second. Like I've seen it. It's almost like JT. Like as much as JT has so many incredible things in his life, but it's almost like him trying to unhave his children, right? Like, no, like this is you, boss, and it's gonna be greater. Like, but that's what many people have. Like, they keep trying to literally be like, if I would have never went to prison, well,
Good.
like if I didn't have this on my record, no, you can't. Like, that's just gonna make you depressed. That's gonna make you sad.
Good.
You can't do that. You have to find a greater than. You have to find a new ideal of perfect, right? Like you like you just have to. Like you cannot. That will make you depressed. It will make you sad. Meanwhile, it's like you won't even let God show you how blessed you are. And I'm saying that, like, man, like, you know, of course, like JT's kids, right? It was amazing. We were having like a Christmas banquet or something, and they like walked in there and made me play hide and go seek with them, and I was like, these are some beautiful souls, you know, like. Like before they came to me like, you know how to play this game? I said, yeah. They tagged me and started counting and hiding, and I'm like,
got you.
I gotta go find them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Nice.
And man, like, often this is what I tell a lot of fathers or single mothers, is that it's okay. Legacy started early for you. You'll get the fruit on the other end. There's a lot of people who are waiting to have children, believe in God for children. And yeah, there's some freedom that they have right now in this season because of that. But don't see yourself out of pocket, because it's just another perspective. You started legacy early. Your path of legacy is earlier than most. Your ability to plant, grow up, maintain, and then pass on, you're ahead of the game. Yeah, does that mean that my today looks different than others? Yes. But do you realize that you are going to be that much further ahead in your future? Give it 20 years and watch. Right? When they are like, man, paying for college, and you're like, college paid off out, and they are working for the business, right? Then you gonna realize that was nice. I got ahead of the game, right? It was a struggle then, but man, the fruit right now is beautiful. Like you just started legacy early. That's all you did. But it's not the different path everybody else is gonna have to walk through, right? You know, they're just gonna have to be anyway. Let me not do that. 'Cause if I say it like that, then some people like, oh man, I have my kids too late. I'm just saying, stop doing that crap, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta stop. Amen.
That's good. A thought can set you free. A thought can set you free. Good stuff. Thank you, Pastor
Yes,
Brian. Happy Thursday. It's a good day, and the weekend is coming. Oh, it's a good weekend indeed. Tomorrow morning at this time, the men will be on a bus headed to Atlanta. So we're excited about that. But there are many great things that are happening here as well at the Tampa campus. Is this weekend the bash? The graduation, Motions graduation is taking place this weekend. New sermon series is taking place on Sunday. So you want to, stay tuned, be there in the building virtually.
The men will be in Atlanta, living out the sermon series, tasting and seeing.
Yeah, so many good things happening this Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Know that we love you, and keep being people who are most blessed. We'll see you soon.
That you're not alone. Keep telling me that grace is pumping through my veins now. Grace is pumping through my veins now. Grace is pumping through my veins now. Even if I'm broken, no, I'm not forgotten. Unqualified, but I'm already chosen. Compass inside tells me to follow the light. So I gotta stop, step back, hold up, relax, and let your grace work in me. So I gotta stop, step back, hold up, relax, reset my mind to the destiny. Then there is a voice inside that's telling me to hold on. Oh, lay your head on the pillow and rest and know that you're not alone. He keeps telling me that grace is pumping through my veins now. Grace is pumping through my veins now. Grace is pumping through my veins now. When I can't see who I ought to be, your word reflects on me, telling me that grace is pumping through my veins now.
I like what he doing right now, man. Just
Oh, what a
let it breathe for a little bit.
treasure.